So welcome to stage 11 of the Lancaster, and there has been a development. An opportunity came up for me to purchase the actual Hachette Lancaster. I got it at a reasonable price. I bought all the way up to issue 34, but it has been built up to issue 21. So what I'm going to be doing from this video onwards is we'll be taking you through the magazine, and then from issue 21 onwards, 22 sorry, I will actually be building the Hachette Lancaster as a separate video, and then I can use my separate video as the comparison, and we'll see how it goes with the magazine, and if you like it I'll carry on doing it. So the parts that we have for issue 11 is the wireless operator navigator table. We have part 11A, the stay and partition, 11B, the seat support, 11C, navigator seat, 11D is the H2S scope unit support, and 11D the H2S scope unit. 11F is the R1155 wireless receiver. 11G, which looks beautiful and I might use that as reference, it's the T1154 transmitter. 11H is the back of the T1154 transmitter, and 11I is the equipment detail optional, and 11J is the back of the R1155 receiver. Now there is a technical detail. It says that parts 11D and 11E, which is the H2S scope, it says that they were fitted to later Lancasters, so you may prefer to omit these parts. That is where I have an issue. If we were doing a Mark III Lancaster, sorry, a Lancaster B Mk III, B3, then yes, you could have a choice, but we are actually doing a specific aircraft, so I would want the specific pieces. So if these are included on Guy Gibson's aircraft, I would want it. If they weren't included, I would not want them. So I'm sorry, for the first time in this series, I'm actually going to deduct a point from the Hachette version. So stage 1, take the support pole stay and partition 11A and the equipment detail 11I. A rectangular peg in part 11I fits into a hole on the navigator side of the part 11A. Apply a little super glue to the peg to hold the part in place. So stage 2, we're going to be putting the optional H2S scope in place, which is 11D and 11E. Then stage 3, we're turning the scope unit and support the right way up. Check how it fits on the partition 11A. Different sized pegs on the back fit into the corresponding sockets in the partition. Use a little glue to fix the parts in place if necessary. So stage 4, we're taking the transmitter 11G and 11H. A D-shaped peg on part 11H fits into the corresponding socket. Apply a little bit of super glue to fix it in place. Similarly, fix the back of the receiver 11J to the receiver 11F. Stage 5, fit the pegs on the back of the transmitter 11H into the corresponding holes in the wireless operator side of the partition 11A. As indicated, use a little glue to fix the part in place. Stage 6, fit the pegs on the back of the receiver 11J into corresponding sockets beneath the transmitter 11G. Use a little glue to hold the parts in place. Stage 7, take the seat support 11B and check how it fits on part 11A. Fine pegs on the end of the frame fit into the sockets 11A. Use a little glue to hold the support in place. Now do remember, don't bother gluing it if it doesn't need it. So stage 8, fit the seat 11C onto the D-shaped peg on the support 11B. When you are happy with the fit, glue it in place if it needs it. On to stage 9, a peg on the base of the partition on part 11A fits into the single hole in the deck desktop 10A. Check the fit carefully so that the stay is upright and the seat is under the desk. Apply a little glue to the peg to fix in place. Stage 10, take the navigator's equipment assembly from issue 9. 2 pegs on the frame 9A fit into the sockets in the desktop 10A at the navigator's end. When you are happy, guess what? Glue the pegs in place. Okay, on to stage 11. Take the floor of the cockpit for the previous issue. Check how the desktop assembly fits. The upright stays 10E and 11A fit into the holes circled in yellow, and the pegs on the base of the navigator's equipment frame 9A fit into the holes circled in red. Glue the pegs in place. Okay, in the last assembly, stage 12, identify the fixing points circled in yellow for the pilot seat platform from issue 6. Apply a little glue to the pegs on the base of the platform and fix it in place on the cockpit floor. And then they always finish the build with the a picture of the completed work, and it says the seats and equipment for crew members have been fitted to the cockpit floor. So let's go on to see what I've been up to. Okay, so welcome to stage 11 of the Hong Kong build. So this is the, I'm going to call this the rear fuselage. They're going to come in 2 pieces. This is stage 15. Now I'm doing a bit of an experiment. We've done the front fuselage. The next stage should be the other front fuselage. Then we do this. Then we do the corresponding side. Then we put the 2 halves together, and then we put the other 2 halves together. What I'm doing is I'm jumping from 13, which is the front fuselage, to stage 15, which is this, and then we jump to stage 17 and we'll put the 2 together. But I'm going to do a bit of an experiment. Because we're going to be gluing 2 painted halves together, I then want to do the opposite side backwards, so we'll glue them together, then we'll paint it, and we'll see if there's much of a difference. It's just really for me. So stage 15, we've got 2 holes there. We had 2 holes on the front fuselage. We need to drill them out. We know from last time that's a 1.4mm hole. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first of all drill it with a 1mm drill bit, and then that will give us like a start. It won't put so much pressure on the drill bit. And I know you can't see this, and I apologise, but I'm just going to slowly just applying mostly the weight of the drill. I'm not pushing very hard, not at all. There we go, and just let it fall through, and you could just see it poking out there. And then still drilling, I'm going to slowly pull it out. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same on the other side. And also notice I've really pushed that drill bit into the drill bit. That's going to put less pressure on the drill bit. If you had it really long, you're putting a lot of pressure on it, and it could snap. Because this is much shorter, we only need to drill a couple of mils down, so I've got it really short just to sort of put less pressure on. Okay, so next hole going in, and I'm just pushing very lightly. Watch when that pokes out. You can see how long it's taken. You can see my fingers going. There we go, it's just poked out. And then carry on drilling, and we'll pull that out. Okay, so now I'll switch my drill bit to a 1.4, which is the desired hole. And then that way, I actually don't have a 1.4. I have a 1.5. Let's see if I can get away with a 1.5. Yeah, that'll go fine. Excuse me. So I'm going to put that in quite deep. So then it'll be so much harder to snap at them. And again, we're going to pop it in. There's a little recess, and we're just going to gently, and it'll take no effort at all. There we go. Gone in lovely, and continue drilling as we pull it out. And same again on the other side. And then what we're going to do, We'll then drill it from the opposite side, from the outside in, and that will just remove any burrs that we may have. Do that again. And there we have two perfect holes. Okay, I'm just going to clean that up slightly with a knife. I just see a little tiny bit I wasn't happy with. Look at that, don't they look professional? So, should we be drilling holes? Shouldn't the manufacturer put the holes in for us? Well, I say no. I actually quite like drilling the holes. It means we have to buy more equipment, but there's no mold issues with that, because obviously there's no extra detail, so there's less for it to go wrong. And so long as we drill properly, we're nice and careful, as you can see, we can very easily get a nice professional looking hole. Right, so I've also cut the pieces off that we need for this fuselage. Oh, we also need to cut this hole out in the middle, and I'm going to take a cut because there will be a piece going in there eventually, and I want to just get the piece so we can use it as a test fit. Okay, so this is the piece that's going in eventually, GG24. As you can see, it's the low level light for the Dambusters. They'll shine a light, and when it light hits a certain point, they know that they're the right height. Now apparently it's supposed to go on like that, pointing forwards. I can't see it myself, but you know. Right, so what we need to do is cut this circle out so that this will fit in, and I think the easiest way to cut this out is to drill lots of holes, and then we can cut along the holes, and then we can just file it. So I'm going to have to do this speeded up, otherwise we're going to be here all day. Okay, so what I have here is basically it's a rotary trimmer. I think these are primarily used for nail care, so that when your beautician is doing your nails, you can remove the old product. Now, what I love about it is it has a variable speed, and it has forward and reverse. It has the power switch on the main unit, but it also has it on there. Now, the problem we have with using any power tools on plastic is that it could melt it. So what we have to do is do tiny passes, keep it moving, don't keep it in any place for any given time. As you can see, I've got quite a lot to take off. Maybe you can't see it, but there's a good couple of mils. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first of all start on a really low speed. I don't know if you'll be able to see that. That is actually a really low speed, and then we'll see how we get on. We can always turn the speed up, but if we have it too high, it's going to melt it almost immediately. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to keep doing passes on this. In fact, I think I can turn that up just a little bit. There we go, but you see I'm keeping it moving. And just keep it moving. Any areas that have got more plastic to move, obviously I'm going to have to spend more time on, but just really be patient with it. This is a tool that's quicker, but it doesn't mean you have to go quick on it. Okay, so we'll get that speeded up for you. Okay, so I've got that to the point where I think it's just a little bit too big. I've done that on purpose, because what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get the piece. I've put all the pieces in a bag actually, and I probably shouldn't have done because I've got them stuck now. There we go. So remember this camera bit is going to be pointing forwards, so it's going to go onto there like so, and I can see it's not going to fit, which is exactly as I wanted it. So what we'll do is we'll have a look at how it's not going to fit. Now there is a slight lip on this. Are we supposed to be putting this so it goes on flush? See, that is not far off. Not far off. So I'm going to turn it right down. And just keep having a look at it and see how it's gonna fit in. I think we actually need to take a little bit off the top as well. Right, a little bit down there. What doesn't help is it's really hard to do a perfect circle. Do you know what? I think that's about spot on. Right, so I'm liking that. So I'm just going to get a bit of a rub with some sandpaper. Just to neaten it up. Now the question is, I think that needs a bit more taken off at the top. Not a lot. So now what we want to work on is, obviously there's meant to be that lip there, so we now need to take a little bit off the outer bit so that this can sink into place, and that's going to be the hard bit, except that this is going to go on afterwards. I think we should look at putting this on before, or we should take more off and make it an exact fit. Or we can take some off this and make it match. Oh, it's a tough choice, isn't it? I'd rather glue this on, so let me take a little bit off the edge. I think we're actually supposed to take more off here. I think what we're going to have to do is make this the exact size and then drop it into place, holding it. So we'll have to put something onto there to hold it, like some tweezers will do the job, and then we'll drop it into place and glue it and then hold it. So let me do some more work on it. Okay, so there it is, guys. That is now done. I didn't do a perfect job of it, I will be absolutely honest with you, but let me bring it up closer. Can I have a focus, please? There you go. It's not a perfect job. I've got a bit of a gap there, but once it's all glued in, that can all be filled. I don't think it's going to cause us the biggest distress going. And it's got a hole in it. I do actually have a light for it, so that's absolutely fantastic. So that is that bit done. So I need to keep this in a bag for later. So the parts that we have for this, excluding the windows, we have got, and I don't know the names of these, and I do apologise. I don't apologise, I don't know. This is all a learning experience. Right, so first of all, we have this door, and I think I don't want to put the door in place. Now the instructions suggest that the square bit should be forward, but if you put it in forward, it doesn't fit, so it will be placed in that way. But before I commit to that, I'm going to do a bit of research, because I think that's the crew entry. I'm absolutely positive. No, do you know what, it will be closed, because my model will be on the pan with the engines running, so that will be closed. So that wants to go in, so no time like the present. Let's pop that in now, and we'll glue it from the inside. I'll start off with a couple of dots from the corners. We'll let capillary action do its job, and then we'll fill in a couple of gaps. And because I'm holding it from the other side, it should be absolutely fine. And I can see there's no gaps, so it is a good fit. The only thing I have a problem with is there's absolutely no detail on it, and there's absolutely no detail on the inside, which is a shame. Now, whether that's going to obscure quite a lot of detail, I do not know. We'll have to see. So that's in, and that's going to be the same colour as the interior. The next bit that is the same colour is this part here. Now, the instructions are telling us to glue it on like this, right? But if you look at it this way, it very clearly looks like a door. Now, we are going to have the tail gunner in. Obviously, that's an access panel for the gunner. So I don't know which way to do this. So I think I will do it open. I'd be very interested to know from you guys what you think. Would this door be open or closed while there's people inside? I'm going to do it open. So I'll get my my normal Tamiya, and I'm just going to put a couple of dots, and then I'm going to do these faces that I think are also going to be touching. This is a little bit of a slower drying glue, so we need to hold it in place for a little bit longer. But because we've got the working time, I think that's a good glue to use. If we put extra thin in, by the time we brought the part to the wall, it would have evaporated. Okay, and that's that in. Now, three other parts. There's this little bit of framework which is going to be painted yellow. This will be going into place there, like so. I don't know what it is, but inside of that is this kind of dustbin-y thing. It's dustbin shaped. I don't know what it is, but that will be painted black. So that's going to be black and yellow, so that needs to be painted separately. And the last piece is this little square piece there, and that will be white. So again, we'll paint that off and then we'll add it on later. So I'm just going to give that a bit more drying time, and then we'll take that over to the spray booth and we'll spray the pieces up. This needs to go into the bag, which I've now, here we are, here's the bag. And we need to label this. Let me double check. I'm going to label it Stage 27 GG24. Okay, so I've decided to edit this and do a voiceover. What I'm doing in this stage is pretty much exactly the same as I did in the last stage, which is just basically painting all the interior. So first of all, I have applied AK Interactive grey primer over everything, absolutely everything. Make sure it gets a good coverage. Do your priming properly and then wait for it to dry, properly cure. Once that's done, I've done the white pieces. There's only one white piece. Now I did cheat here, I didn't bother using white paint. I found that Stylerez white primer has such better coverage. It's going to be an internal piece, it's going to be glossed and weathered, so I very much doubt that if I don't tell you, if you looked at it, you wouldn't tell the difference between paint and primer in this case. So once I've done the white primer, I then move on to the yellow. There's a little bit of framework. Now this is going to have a black piece attached to it, so I've not actually done the platform on it. So I've gone over that with yellow. And then the big paint session, I am doing all of the interior of the fuselage in AK Interactive RAF Cockpit Green. Now some people might be complaining that I've used the wrong colour. I do models to the point that I'm happy with them. There's lots of theories on the cockpit colour. Tamiya Imperial Navy Green is a popular one. Another popular one is to take that Tamiya and then add another colour to it. To be absolutely honest with you, that's fine. What people do is up to them, but I really don't care. I'm getting a colour that is very close to an established RAF cockpit green. I'm going to be putting a weathering wash over it, and it's going to be inside, so it really isn't going to be a massive difference between what the experts claim is the correct colour. If you want to use whatever colour you think is correct, that's fine, but I'm using AK Interactive RAF Cockpit Green, number AK11847. So once I've done all of that, I'm then moving on to the black pieces. Now when I started this, I'm thinking I'm not going to bother with that black section, because it'll all get sorted out once the cockpit is in, but I ended up doing it anyway, and I actually sprayed too much, but that's fine, we'll fix that later on. And I've also done, there's like a black dustbin thing that's going to go onto the yellow frame, which is why I've left some of the frame to leave bare plastic. So that gets sprayed with AK Interactive AK11028 Smoke Black. Now Smoke Black is not an absolutely perfect black. It's got a little touch of white in it to make it. It's actually a very dark grey, and that just helps with it's not so stark, and if you do some weathering on it later on, it will actually show. Whereas if you put black, pure black, it's got nowhere to go. Right, so once I've done that, I then go back and do some more green just to touch up where I've oversprayed the black, and that is all of the painting with an airbrush done. Okay, so it's time to finish this up. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be gluing in the white piece W7. That went in quite nicely with ordinary Tamiya cement. Then once we've done that, I wanted to repaint the framework. I wasn't happy with the finish that the airbrush gave me, so I just did a little bit of repainting with the yellow just to make it a bit more solid. I then touched up the platform with the black just to make that all black, just leaving a little bit of bare plastic so that the glue can stick to it. Once that's all nice and dry, we then glue on piece W28, which is the little black bin, onto that platform, and then we glue the whole framework onto the side of the aircraft. There's two little holes for the bottom peg, so I just dropped a little bit of extra thin in there, popped the framework in, and then I just applied a little bit of Tamiya white to the contact points, and then just pushed it all into place, held it down and waited for it to dry. Then once that was done, the fun began. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 windows. They all need to be cut off the sprues, they needed to be cleaned up, and then they all needed to be test fitted, and then inserting them all using white glue. Easy job, just a little bit time consuming, but I think you'll be happy with the overall results, and that is what I'm calling it done for the day. We will shortly be going over to the costings, but next week we will be jumping to stage 17, where we will be attaching the two halves of the fuselage on the right hand side. And then the following week we're going to do it kind of in reverse. We're going to glue the fuselages together, then we'll do all the pieces and all the painting. So I hope you've enjoyed this build, and let's go over to the costings. So we'll finish off with the costings. We are on issue 11, so we've got another $10.99 on the Hachette. Obviously none on the Hong Kong because we're doing the parts that came out of the box. So the running totals for the Hachette is £107.89. The Hong Kong remains at £729. That's now down to a difference of £6228, but £270.03 versus the basic build. Now the Hachette, I've scored 1. Obviously it looks good, but part of it is because we brought through 2 pieces from previous issues, the pilot seat and the part from stage 9, so we've already scored those, so I don't want to give them scores again, but this piece could actually, I think, score 2 or 3. But as I said, I've docked a point. I'm not happy with the fact that we've got optional parts. Because we are doing a specific aircraft, then I think we want those exact pieces. You know, can you imagine you've got two models that will look completely different of the same aircraft? If it was just a generic Lancaster B III, then I'd be absolutely fine with it. It'd probably get an extra bonus point. And I've scored it for 2 for the Hong Kong. It was very samey compared to the previous issue, but obviously the parts were different, and I've started this build not knowing an awful lot about the Lancaster. Obviously I do want to learn a bit more as I go, but now I've got these interesting little pieces and it's really got my curiosity going. Some of the pieces, such as the windows, I've practiced that in the previous stage, and now I'm a little bit better on this stage, and it was such a joy. And there was a new technique with the drilling out of the hole in the bottom, which was quite good fun, to be honest with you. It's not something I do an awful lot, and it really was enjoyable, and I think it thoroughly deserves that too. So the current scores are 18 to 15. So the Hong Kong is leading by 3 points. The question I have now that I have access to the magazines, will the Hachette one lose a lot more points because I'm able to sort of interrogate it fully? And then once we hit stage 22, could it lose even more points because I'm actually building it, so I'll actually get the feel of it. That I don't know. But one thing I am glad I've said, this is not a scientific version. A lot of these points are based on my opinion. Right, so that is it for stage 11. I appreciate you watching it. In regards to the Hachette, we are going to be doing the wireless operator seat, back panel and cushions, hydraulic basin, reservoir, railing and assorted screws. They haven't given us a title for the next one, but I can cheat and I can actually look at the magazine. So the magazine is titled The Wireless Operator Seat. We are going next week on the Hachette. We are going to be gluing the two halves of the fuselage that we've done. I'll call it halves, but they're not proper halves. The two pieces, we'll glue them together and we'll make one long fuselage. I'm quite excited because then we'll get to see exactly how long it, well, not exactly, because there's more pieces to go on, but we start to look at the length of it and we start to see how big it is. So as always, I hope you join me next week, and as always, I thank you for watching. Take care. Bye bye.